Hello everybody, and welcome to my lecture from Great Ideas to Game Features. I think we're ready to start. Thank you for coming, and let's proceed. My name is Maciej Szczesnik, and I work as a lead gameplay designer in CD Projekt Red. This is the company famous of its The Witcher game, RPG games series. We've released our first game in 2007. Then we've prepared and released our second game, The Witcher 2, in 2011, and for Xbox 360 in 2012. And now we are working on two brand new projects. First of which is The Witcher 3, and it will be released in 2014. And the second one is Cyberpunk 2077, and it will be released when it's ready. And I work in games industry since 2004. What I would like to talk about today is as follows. First, I would like to tell you guys how ideas are born in our heads. What is the crucial element, the key element of creativity? Then I would like to focus on problems I encounter while designing games. There is a bunch of them. And in the last part of my talk, I would like to give you some concrete methods to deal with those problems. I would like to take you from initial concept to concrete solution in 8 easy steps. So what is the key element of creativity? Basically, what makes us creative? We will need to find it out right now because it will be used in the later part of this talk, and we'll be referencing to that. I've prepared a small experiment for you today to actually show you what this key element of creativity is. And please try to read this sentence real carefully. I was driving my car and had an accident. It's actually a sentence about me. It's true. So please read it again really, really carefully and try to picture that in your minds. And now try to answer those questions again in your heads, in your minds, and the purpose of that short experiment is to show you that you actually can find those answers. Obviously, you'll be probably wrong, but don't worry. So first question here is, what was the color of my car? Can you see this color? I'm pretty sure you can. The second question is where the accident happened. Can you see the surroundings of that accident? And what time of day was it? Was it morning or maybe noon or maybe evening? You probably see right now what the time of day was it. Where was I going? Maybe I was going, I don't know, to a grocery or somewhere else. You probably can also answer this question. And the last question is, what is my car's manufacture date? Basically, when was it produced? You probably have all those answers in your heads right now. This is the truth. I drive a blue 16-year-old piece of crap, but that's not very important right now. The accident happened near a roundabout. It was morning. I was going to work, and basically a guy hit me, and it was his fault, by the way. But that's also not very, very important. What is important here is that actually you just used your imagination. You were able to see those colors of my car. You were able to see all those answers in your heads. And this is the key element of creativity, and we need to be aware of it because we need to learn how to work with our imagination. Here are some facts about our imagination. First, it fills in the blanks. So it basically gives us details where we lack details. So I gave you just a really short sentence that had no details in it. And you were able to work on that and to find those details in your minds. Imagination is a part of our subconsciousness. So we're actually not able to directly control it. We just picture answers and picture things in our heads. We see those answers, but we can't control it consciously. It uses our memories and our experiences as bricks for building those images. So the more experience you gather through your lives, the more ideas and unique ideas you can have. And the last point here is the most important one. Imagination needs constraints to be efficient. This is why I was asking you those specific questions, because if your brain has a task to complete, if your brain has a challenge, you need to use your imagination to generate all those ideas. But using imagination is not that easy. Creativity and being creative is not that easy. So it is quite hard to have good ideas. And this is mainly because we often lack those constraints I was talking about a second ago. Basically, we often have vague, not precise tasks that we have to complete. For example, we need to design a new feature for our game, and nobody tells us what that feature should be. We don't have any constraints. And here are problems I encounter while designing games. The first problem is I often don't know where to start from. As I said, especially if someone approaches me, my lead approaches me and says that we need just a new gameplay feature for our game. And it's nothing specific. I have no constraints there. It's hard to start. The second problem is that sometimes I can't come up with anything good. I basically have an emptiness in my head, and I don't have any good ideas. So that's the second problem. The next one is that sometimes we need a lot of ideas in a very short period of time. It's especially visible when you have to design things like special abilities for your character development, things like that. The next one is that sometimes you're working on a feature or on a game concept, and you realize that someone else is actually already making this game or has this feature in their game, and it's quite frustrating. The next one is the problem with picking the best idea from a list of your ideas. Sometimes it's really hard to decide between two or more similar concepts. And the next one is that sometimes we design features that are not very coherent with the rest of the game or with one another. And the real problem here is that we realize that late in production stage, so we cannot change it sometimes. The next one is that when we have all those ideas and we're starting the production, and we have to prepare the production plan, and we have to give priorities to our features, and it's also extremely hard to get them right. So sometimes we end up with having random priorities and we make those features in random order, which obviously is a problem. And if you have this plan, if you planned everything, at the end you realize that you're not going to implement half of your features because you lack time or resources, and it's very frustrating for a designer. I just hope it's not just me. That you also have encountered some of those problems. If not, you're very, very lucky. And now I would like to take you, with those 8 easy steps from initial concept to concrete solutions, I would like to solve those problems on the way, and I would like to give you some methods that will speed up your design process, that will make your ideas better. Obviously, these are not silver bullets, but they are proven to work in our environment, in our company, and I would like to share them with you. So the first step you should take when designing a feature is asking questions, and it solves this problem of not knowing where to start from. Actually, we had a problem after releasing the Witcher, the first Witcher, and when we started to design the second one. We wanted to add some completely new gameplay features to the game. We knew that it would be cool to have those, but we didn't know exactly what those features should be. So we were basically walking in circles. And we've developed a smart solution to this problem, and I call it the sheriff star. So basically, you have to imagine that you are a sheriff and you're investigating a crime scene. And you have to ask a lot of questions to all your witnesses. And each of those questions should start with a keyword, one of these 6 keywords. It's why, who, when, how, where, what. And you should generate as many questions as you possibly can without answering them. So you don't think about answers. You just ask all possible questions about a feature or your game. And this is the example of questions we've actually asked. I've put just one example question per keyword here, but we had around a dozen of them per keyword, and this is a good number. So I will just read them. Why we want to add this feature, who will enjoy it most, when player will use it, how will it make the game more fun, where will it be most spectacular, and what makes it easy to grasp. Those 2 first ones are especially important because actually this first question, why we want to add this feature, is a question about our goals, our true goal with adding this feature. And the second question is actually the question about our target audience. So, who will enjoy this feature most? And our effect was as follows. Actually, we decided that what we really want, we didn't want to add some features. We just wanted to refresh the game because our original game, the first Witcher, was a point-and-click game. And now we wanted to make it more action-oriented. So we changed the combat system and movement systems completely. We made a TPP game out of a point-and-click game. And we've completely changed the experience and make it more fresh. We've made it more fresh. So why this step is important? First of all, it makes you ask a lot of questions about your game or feature. And the more questions you ask, the more precise your design will be at the end. It changes your perspective because you suddenly stop being a designer. You're more like a journalist or a player who basically asks questions about your game. It gives a large list of questions that you can work with on later design stages, which is convenient. And it helps fight the post-project blues because after completing a game, it's extremely hard to start designing a new one right away because you're tired, you just crunched and things like that. But it's really easy to actually start asking questions about your new game. So it helps fight the post-project blues too. The second step is proper research, and it solves this problem of not having good ideas or not having any ideas. And research sounds obvious. Every one of us is doing that. And this is what I call obvious research. So all of us read books, all of us watch movies, all of us play other games. But there is a problem in it because we are all game developers. So we are similar in many cases. And we tend to read the same books. We tend to watch the same movies and play the same games. So we have the same input. And as a result, we produce games that have similar features and are very similar to one another. So I encourage you to actually use your own experiences as research, because your own experiences are only yours. You don't share them with anybody else. This is something only you have inside yourself. So I have two examples here. First, this is a photo from my holidays. I was in Montenegro, and actually there is a place there where you can climb on a very high mountain, and you feel like you're flying a plane, but you're actually standing on ground. So you have this beautiful vista with sea beneath you and huge mountains below, and various cities there. So you can use it, for example, as reference for some really wicked fantasy location, for example. And the other example here is old family photos and stories. These are photos of my family taken in early 1920s and late 1960s. And actually, I have an example here. My grandmother called me once, and she said that our family has a very dark family secret. But she cannot tell me what the secret is because my long dead grandfather came to her in her sleep and said that she shouldn't tell me. And short after that, my grandmother died, and I don't know what that secret was to this day, which makes me think about it all the time. But I'll probably use it in some other game. And as for The Witcher 2 research, obviously we've done it, and we were studying medieval sword fighting books, the actual ones, to learn all those tactics, moves, and basically methods of killing people with swords. So we were studying that to have it as close to the real fights as possible. And one other thing, we were also visiting battle reenactments. For example, the Great Battle of Grunwald. It's one of the biggest battles of Middle Ages that happened in Poland. And some of us, our concept artists and level artists, are actually members of those Knights Brotherhoods. So they wear those plate armors, they fight with sword, they use shields, spears, and things like that. So we use their experience because they're actually experiencing those battles on their own flesh, so to speak. So we're using their experience, and we're using that in our games. And as a result, we had really believable knights and warriors in The Witcher 2. Some useful tips. First of all, as I said, look where nobody else looks and use your own experiences because they are just your own and nobody else's. Be prepared, and I mean, now everybody carries a smartphone, so it's not that big of a problem, because you never know when you will find something interesting, when you will see something interesting, and you need to write it down because you will forget. And if you can experience something on your own, see it, feel it, always do, because it's more richer than just watching it in, I don't know, TV. And why this step is so important? First, it's needed to answer those questions from the first step. It will be your base for answering those questions. It's the fuel for your imagination. The more research you do, the more fuel you'll have for your imagination. And the more fuel you have, the more ideas will emerge. And proper research helps both in your current project and also in all of your future projects, because you will not forget this. You will be able to use it later on. The third step after proper research is to talk with the team. And obviously, all of us probably do that, but especially in big projects, big AAA games, we tend to talk only to designers, I mean to fellow designers. And I encourage you to talk with the whole team. It's actually very, very important. And we had a challenge, maybe not a problem, but we had a challenge at the beginning of the Witcher 3 project. We wanted to design a lot of skills for all the monsters in our game. And we had a very strict deadline for that, because we needed to close the monster design document, because our concept artists and character artists had to start working on those monsters, and they needed all the design there. So it was quite a challenge. And our solution to that was actually the Crawford brainstorming technique. And traditionally, this method is based on writing down the ideas instead of talking about them. So people can basically write down all their ideas, then they can give those ideas to a person responsible for the brainstorming, for the brainstorm, and this person collects those ideas. But we've modified this method a bit, and we use Google Docs because it's very convenient. So basically, this is an example from our game. from our current game. It's just a small portion of all those ideas our people got. So I've prepared a Google spreadsheet and I've shared it with the whole company, and everyone could put their ideas into this spreadsheet. Some of them were brilliant, some of them were quite weird, like this last one here. I don't know how to use this in game, but oh well. But what's most important, we had a lot of ideas in a very short period of time. There were actually a couple hundreds of them, and it took like 2 days. And why this step is so important? First of all, you need to have a lot of different unique ideas to be able to choose from. I mean, to be able to choose the best ones. And obviously, the more heads, the more unique ideas, because every team member has their own experience, their own experiences, their own memories, and they are using them to generate those ideas, right? And you have to answer all the questions from the step one. Actually, it's a good moment to start answering those questions and to start designing the feature. And the whole team can get involved in game design, which is very important because whether we like it or not, all people should feel like they're doing their game, not our game. You know. So obviously we are still the designers, but if it's possible, we should make sure that everybody from the team will get involved in game design. The next step is adding innovation. It's a solution to this problem with having the same ideas as other companies. And I have two very simple methods for adding innovation that I use. First one is called provocation, and it's really, really simple. You have to take one of your features from your game. You have to think what is the core element of that feature, and you have to reverse it. So, for example, in The Witcher 2, we had this feature that player could finish off opponents in a very spectacular way. So we've taken this feature, and we thought, what if we will reverse it? So we said that now opponents can finish off player in a very spectacular way. And it's just yet another small feature. Now every time a player will die, it will be a very spectacular scene, which is cool. And the other method here is called combination, because it's based on combining two features that resonate with each other. And another example, actually I have two here. The first example is that in The Witcher we had bombs that player could throw, I mean craft and throw, and we had traps that player could craft and lay. And we decided to combine those features, so now we'll have bombs that will work as proximity mines. So basically, player will be able to craft those bombs, he will throw them, but they will not explode. They will stay on the ground and wait until a monster comes into their proximity. Then they will explode. So it's just another small feature there. And in The Witcher 1, in the beginning of The Witcher 1, we actually had a big problem because we wanted to design a really unique Witcher fighting styles. Witchers are those mutated swordsmen and monster slayers, and there is no solid information in the lore about how they fight. We just know that they do a lot of pirouettes, and they are extremely fast. That's basically those two informations that we could build on. So we were making a lot of prototypes. It was back in 2005. So we were making a lot of prototypes with keyframe animation, but we weren't happy, we weren't satisfied with that. So we used this combination, but actually we decided to take another approach. We found a martial art and medieval sword master who actually happened to be a professional stuntman. So he weren't afraid of pain and being hurt, which we helped in developing those styles. And since he knew Aikido, Kung Fu, medieval sword fighting, fist fighting, and even parkour, we were able to combine all those elements and create really unique style. In 2005, it was still quite, it wasn't that, that often that people used mocap in RPGs. So usually people use just keyframe animations. And we were one of the first studios that actually decided to use a professional stuntman and record his movements. So why this step is important? It's just, there are just 2 points here. First, it makes your concepts unique and or more unique, and it can make your game more memorable. The next step is idea assessment, because this is the moment when you have a lot of those ideas and you need to choose the best ones, and it's actually very, very difficult. I was talking about that topic with my colleague Marek Ziemak on GDC Europe 2012. You can find this on GDC Vault. It's the talk is the title of the talk is Between Dreams and Deadlines. But still, I would like to give you one example of methods responsible for that. So our problem was that after we've had all those ideas for those special abilities for monsters, we found out that people were actually emotionally connected to their ideas, so it was very hard to discuss about them. Everyone wanted to have their ideas in game, and we didn't have any measurable criteria. Everything was actually subjective, so we were just arguing with one another. And our solution to that is called the like it method, because it resembles the like it button from Facebook. So this is the same spreadsheet, but we've added another column there, which is score. And this is basically voting. People could like an idea by adding 1 point to it. And it suddenly gave us measurable criteria, because we were able to compare 2 ideas, basically only by that if someone liked it or not. And here's how it worked out. So basically, lots of people liked flying, and this stinker ability was not that popular. And why this step is so important? First of all, it can show problems with your concept very early in development. I mean, if nobody likes your ideas, nobody from the studio likes your ideas, there's probably something wrong with them. I mean, obviously, you can be a genius and nobody can understand you, but still, you should be able to describe them better, right? And it cannot replace prototyping, that's obvious, but it can eliminate those really bad ideas before you start to prototype them. And it can also enhance your ideas, because people can comment and can tell you what they like about those concepts and what they don't like about those concepts. So you can change them, you can adjust them to be better. And only if you have some kind of measurable criteria for choosing your ideas and choosing your concepts, you can actually compare those. The next step is identifying feature dependencies, and it solves this problem about having not very coherent features in the game. So we had a huge problem after we released The Witcher 1. And basically, we had a cool idea, that was a good idea, that we will add romance to the game, because our game was very mature, and romance was part of the storyline. So we wanted to have romantic relationships and romances in the game. But and that was still a good idea. But at some point, one of the designers said that it would be really cool if we would illustrate those romantic moments, so to speak, with hand-drawn pictures. And that still was quite good, because those pictures were actually really nice. I mean, okay. All right. And but another designer actually said at that moment that it would be even more cool if we would add some borders to those pictures, and they would look more like cards or paintings, right? And that was, we thought that probably it's a good idea too. But suddenly, after we've released The Witcher, it turned out that our deep romantic relationships embedded in the storyline turned out to be nothing more than got to catch them all minigame. And people were actually collecting cards, and they were asking one another what should they do to collect them all. And that was quite embarrassing, and it was not what we have planned. So our solution to that, actually we have two solutions developed in CD Projekt. The first solution is called feature matrix. And it sounds scary, but it's not. So basically it's a square table where you put all your features, all your main features, both as row headers and column headers. And on intersections of those, you write down how feature A interacts with feature B. So for example, here you have that journal provides information for player. And it's not symmetrical. So here you have how player interacts with journal. And you have that player can change current tracked quest. That was one of the key activities of player with journal. And when you have such a square table and you maintain it, you can react to all the changes you're going to implement into your game. So basically, if you change a feature or if you add a feature, you see how it impacts the other features in your game. So you can react to it. And another solution here is something we call consequences graph. And that's actually another example from The Witcher 2. We wanted to add dual wield sword fighting because we thought that this is really cool. To draw a consequences graph, first you need to start with your idea at the center. Then you draw the consequences of adding this feature to your game. And we thought these are just some of those consequences. But we thought that it's probably against the lore because Witcher Geralt never fought with two swords at the same time. But we are thinking that it will probably look great, and it will be one more fighting style for the game. And then you actually draw consequences of those consequences. So you go deeper. You draw second layer of consequences, so to speak. And for us, we found out that it will be an immersion breaker for some of our fans, because if it's against the lore, some of our fans will think that it's not Witcher-ish, right? So it will be an immersion breaker. And it will also be against core mechanics, because we have silver sword for monsters and steel sword for normal opponents, for human opponents. And now you would actually use two swords at the same time, so it's actually against our mechanics. So we didn't decide to have this feature in our game. And maybe if we would actually do this exercise before we were adding those sex cards, maybe we would predict the possible outcome. So why this step is so important? First of all, we think only about direct consequences of our actions, of things we do. So we think only about this first layer of consequences, and we don't go deeper. This is how our brain works. And knowing how a single change will impact other features of your game can actually spare you hours of debugging, obviously. So if you use this feature matrix, you can predict what will happen if you change a feature. And you can also identify combinations of your features that will have a synergy effect. For example, it's also about using this feature matrix. So for example, if you see that two or more features have nothing in common, I mean, on the intersections you cannot write anything, maybe you actually should try and make them interact with each other, so your game would be even more coherent and interesting. This step is almost the last one, and it's preparing a good plan, because this will solve the problem with having random priorities. So the most optimal order of producing things is as follows. First, you need to make those features that have high value and low effort. So they have high value for the game, but they are easy to make, and they don't cost much money. Then you have to make high value and high effort features, then low value, low effort features, and in the end, if you have time, low value and high effort features. But it's quite hard to define those, actually. And actually, we had a problem also in The Witcher 2. We prepared sticking mechanics that was used literally 3 times in the game. And at first, we thought that it will be just a small element of the quest, but we decided that we will make a feature out of it. And we probably could make something more valuable instead, but still we've decided to make that feature. So our solution for that is called Game Roadmap. It's a thing very similar to product backlog, but it's actually more advanced. It also looks scary, but it's not. So basically, this is a backlog where you have all the features listed in rows, but those features are divided into development stages. So here we have just 3 development stages per feature, but you can have much more. And on top of that, you have some numbers there. So the first number is effort, and I will tell you in a second how to estimate that. The second number is value, I mean the value of the feature for the game. And you have score, which is basically value divided by the effort. And we just show it in percentage because it's easier to understand. Basically, score of 100 means that value equals effort. And we also have some basic score features, we call them like that. And these are features that we absolutely have to have in the game. So these are the special priorities features. So we need to start with those first. So that would be the order we would produce those features in the game. First, we would start with this basic feature. Then we would choose the feature with the highest score. It happens to be the second development stage, so we can choose that too. And then we would just continue. And here's how you estimate the added value and effort. So we use a simple scorecard for that. And here's the example. So effort is divided into time, cost, and risk. And we just use a scale from 1 to 10. Basically, time of 10 means that this feature will take a long time to develop. And the total effort is just a sum of those 3 factors. And as for value, we have production value, which means how valuable for us as game developers this feature is. Maybe it can speed up the development, for example. So this is the production value. Usability is how easy to use this feature is. It can be easy to use in editor, or it can be easy to understand by players. And the fun factor is basically how much fun this feature gives players. And total value is also a sum of those 3. So why that step is important, I mean, why preparing a good plan with your producers is important. First of all, it keeps all the features in one place. So you have all the features in this backlog divided into development stages. All those features have user stories. So everyone who just would like to see what a feature is about can open this one document and find this feature and find each development stage of it. It gives more believable priorities than just those estimated by your leads, because those priorities are actually calculated, and you take time under consideration, you take fun factor, usability, all those things. And it's easier to estimate those small factors like time and fun factor, and then add them. So it's easier to estimate those than to estimate just the priorities. It makes it easier to react to changes, because if you're blocked and you cannot make a feature, you cannot continue with production, you actually know what feature you should be developing next. And it describes all development stages, as I said, and can be used for planning sequels and DLCs too, because you will obviously not develop all your features to the maximum, right? You will not develop all development stages. You will not make all development stages of your features. So some development stages will stay there, and you will not touch them. And you will be able to use those for planning DLCs and sequels right away. And the last step is simplify the solution. Because, I mean, it solves this problem when you have too complicated features and you cannot actually implement all of them. And again, in The Witcher 3, we had a problem or a challenge, because we wanted to create monsters flying in full 3D, so not hovering above the ground like in many other RPGs, also in The Witcher 2. But we wanted to prepare monsters that actually can fly. But at first, we were planning to make it more complicated. We were planning to use 3D nav mesh, and it was just it just costed too much. We couldn't afford the time to develop this feature. So here is what we actually prepared, and I have a work-in-progress movie of our flying monsters right now. So this is how it works. We basically turned off the gravity of those NPCs, and we also turned off the pathfinding. So they don't use gravity and they don't use pathfinding. And we have root motion in our engine, so we just used the root motion to make those monsters fly. And they also collide with each other, so they will not fly one through another. So here, we just use a couple of blended animations together. So we have fly left, fly right, fly up, fly down animations. And here's how it looks like. And it's all done by designers in the AI. So basically, the logic here is that those monsters try to get to a volume above their current target. They can also try to attack you, as you can see, and yeah, they just fly. And in an open world, it's actually a very neat solution. So why this step is important? First of all, simple execution means more features in the game, right? And because you will take less time for developing each of them. And simple execution is also less bugs, because, I mean, in most cases, because if something is simple to develop, it will probably also be simple to debug later on. And simple execution means designers can do it on their own, which is quite important, because time of our programmers is extremely valuable, and it's better spent on some really, really important things. So if we can make something, make a feature by our own, just designers, this is the way to go. So that's basically all I had to tell you today. I wanted to tell today. I just want to sum it up. So first, when you start designing a feature or a game, you should ask as many questions about this game as possible. The more questions you will ask, the more precise your design will be at the end. Then you should do proper research, and I encourage you to use your own experiences, your own memories, or your family's stories, because this is just yours and nobody else's. You should talk with the whole team and brainstorm ideas, not only with designers. You should talk with the whole team, because then you will have more unique ideas. You should try to add some innovation if possible, even with those simple methods. You should check if your idea is good, so you should just pick the best ones. And you should check if your idea is coherent with the rest of the game. And you should prepare a game roadmap, which is basically a product backlog, a game plan, because it will give you believable priorities for developing those features. And last, you should try to simplify the design before implementing each feature, because simple means more features, basically. So if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer. Okay.
Have you ever had any problems with the like it method where it just kind of feels like there's a failing with the design by committee model?
Excuse me, could you repeat and wave at me? I could see you.
Hello.
Oh, okay, great.
Hi.
All right, great. Now I see you, yeah.
Have you ever had any problems with the like it method where people are voting for this feature that you just know as a designer will not work, and then there's just like that failing of the design by committee?
Actually, we haven't had this problem, so I haven't encountered that. Yeah, so I just haven't had this before. Thanks.
Quick question on the feature matrix. Could you talk a little bit more about what broke the symmetry? I mean, you pointed out that it wasn't the same information in all the boxes, but just kind of expand on that a little bit more.
Okay. Basically, I mean, feature matrix is not symmetrical because it's not the same when feature A interacts with feature B and feature B interacts with feature A. It's basically not the same thing. With this example with journal, it's that journal provided information for player, so this is this interaction, I mean, that way. But player interacts with journal by changing some tracked quests and things like that. So it works both ways, but it's not the same. So if you change how player interacts with journal, you will impact different things, basically. So that's how it works.
I had a question about the roadmap. And with how does that survive your product owners?
With product owners, you say?
Yeah. Sorry, that's a Scrum term for essentially the investors or whatever else. They get to shuffle the order of the product backlog, and then you take that into your sprint backlogs. So I know that the sprint backlogs can't be interfered with ideally in the system, but if they really want a feature for E3 or whatever feature, do you just shuffle with them, or do you really try and get them to see the value in, hey, this feature is that important, we should really keep the order? Yeah, so we often want to keep the order, but obviously when we encounter demos and things like that, it is a bit shuffled. So yeah, it's their right to do it, right? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if you have no more questions, then thank you for listening, thank you for coming, and if you have any other questions, you can email me. Here's my email address. Thank you very much.